And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Triad. Many of you are familiar with that word, triad. And as you may know, here at Medfield Television, we have the opportunity of broadcasting Triad so that viewers can also see the program. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you, more time, and you know him very well, is Joe Canavan, the director of Triad. So it's my pleasure to introduce Joe to you, and he'll take it from there. Joe?
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Again, my name is Joe Canavan. I work for Norfolk County Sheriff Michael Bellotti. I am the director of the Triad Division, which is a group together of the law enforcement, your public safety, senior support groups, and seniors like yourselves. So we're going to be bringing a guest speaker with you, which is part of our Triad program, which is a Speakers Bureau. I'll introduce you to her. It's Bernadette Lindbone from the Postal Inspector Service. She has a wonderful presentation she's going to be giving you. But before that, I just want to go over a couple of quick notes. I thought we had a cookout here. I thought it was great. We had a cookout here in the fall. Hope everyone could have made it. We had a great day there. We had the K-9 unit. We had some hamburgers and hot dogs. A lot of good information was given out that day also. Just a quick rundown of some of the programs. We are still doing the Yellow Dot program. It's continuous. I think I just took someone's photo earlier today. If you haven't done it yet, please see me after the presentation. It's a quick medical information for your car. It's a quick procedure to do. You take your picture, you fill out a form, and I come back in a couple of days, and you will be able to put the envelope with the medical information in your photo in your glove compartment, and a decal goes on the back, and it alerts the first responders if there's ever a medical emergency in your automobile to look in your glove compartment for the information. We also have the Files of Life, and we're also going to be bringing out a new program this winter. It's the Senior ID program. It's a secondary form of identification. There'll be more details to that to follow. But before that, I'd like to introduce now to you your Chief of Police and the Chairman of the Triad for the town of Medfield, Chief Bob Meany.
Good morning. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. I know there's been some concerns about house breaks that have been going on in town. We've had a grand total of, I believe it's 4 since July, which is a lot for us, but it raised some issues. And basically what the people are looking for is, you see the advertisements on television where you can take your old unused gold jewelry and put it in an envelope and send it down to Florida, and then you get a check back in the mail. Well, these people are doing it, except they're doing it on your behalf, and you don't get the check back. So that's what they're looking for. It wasn't that long ago that gold was somewhere around $400 or $500 an ounce. It's somewhere around $1,400, $1,500 an ounce now, so it's worth it. So typically what the person does, the breaks we've had here, is they kick in the back door and go into the house, and they're looking for the jewelry, and occasionally they'll look for some drugs too, but mostly they're looking for the jewelry. The most recent, we had an attempt, let's see, down by my house, down in East Medfield, in October, and what the people do is they go to the front door and they knock. And if they don't get any answer, they go around to the back door and they knock. Well, the homeowner greeted them at the back door. And the person, I'm looking for directions to Dedham. Oh, okay. Well, go out to the end of the street, take a left, and that's 109, and you'll get to Dedham. So we had a very good description of that person, of the car, the fact that there was a gentleman inside the car with a woman, and within about a week and a half, we put some things together with Dover and Westwood, and one of the breaks that occurred in Westwood and one of the ones that occurred in Dover, our Medfield person was able to ID the person that did the breaks as the girl that came to the back door. So we know that those are the folks we've been looking for. Now, this is when Westwood had almost 3 dozen breaks over like a 2 or 3 month period, and they actually use a reverse 911 system to let people know about that. So that's the update in the breaks. And then just, Joe reminded me, when you're talking about the K-9 unit, the dog and the handler that were here, I met them let's see, it was last Wednesday or Thursday, there was a young person in Dover that was being surrendered to the juvenile people, and he was going to go off and be committed. Decided not to, so he took off and went in the woods, and the dog tracked him down and found him in under like 20 minutes, something like that. So so the dog that was here, they're really good handlers. They do a good job. So Sheriff's Department strikes again. They just very efficient folks. Back to Joe. I'm set.
Thank you, Chief. Some great information from your police chief. Again, the town of Medfield, it's all comes together here. You have a great COA. I think Roberta does a great job here. I want to thank her today for hosting this wonderful breakfast. And without further ado, again, we talk about the Speakers Bureau. We try to bring some interesting speakers to you folks. I think we've had the car doctor here before. We have a Memer, the representative from Massachusetts Emergency Management is on board. They've been coming around speaking. And it's been my pleasure to work with this lovely special agent from the Postal Inspectors Division. She's spoken at a couple of my triad meetings. She does a great job. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So without further ado, it is Special
Postal
Inspector
Bernadette Lundbaum.
There we go. How's that? Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Here we go again. My name is Bernadette Lundbaum. I'm a United States Postal Inspector from Boston. The Postal Inspection Service is one of the oldest federal law enforcement agencies in the country. We are a federal law enforcement agency, just like the FBI, ATF, DEA, but our jurisdiction is really anything that infringes on the integrity of the mail. So basically, you as customers, you have the right to mail something and expect that it gets there safe and secure, correct? And that's where we come in. All for the price of the stamp, postal inspectors ensure that things that you mail do get there safe and secure. Now, we already know, I asked if anyone knew what a postal inspector was. Now you do, right? We're federal law enforcement agencies, and our job is to protect the nation's mail system and protect our assets, postal employees included in that, and postal facilities. So what I'm going to do today is talk about our agency, what we do, and then give you some tips to protect yourselves against different types of scams and schemes that primarily revolve around mail fraud. Any questions so far? No. Good. Okay. So the types I've been a postal inspector in Boston for 17 years, actually almost 18 years. When I came in, I started working on major crimes. The major crimes teams, we cover assaults on postal employees. We cover robberies of postal employees and burglaries on postal facilities. We also, we have one team in Boston that works that. We also work drugs in the mail and suspicious packages in the mail. Now, people ask all the time, people actually mail drugs? They do. We find a lot of that. We have a whole team of inspectors in Boston who work that. They work it for many reasons, of course, to get the drugs out of the system, but also to protect our employees. We don't want our letter carriers out there on the street delivering a package that may have some narcotics in it, and then it puts them in harm's way when someone's looking for that package. We also work suspicious mail packages. So, for example, anthrax years ago, that was within our jurisdiction because, again, it infringes on the integrity of the mail. And on that note, I just want to give you a few examples of different types of things that come up for postal inspectors. Years ago, I worked on a team that did work suspicious packages. And it always seemed that these suspicious packages would come about at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? 3 o'clock in the morning is you'd get the call. So I live on the South Shore, and around 3 o'clock in the morning, sure enough, during the holiday season, 3 o'clock in the morning, that phone would ring, and I'd get up and get it, and, oh, we have a suspicious package in Nashua, New Hampshire. Okay, so you get in the car, you strap on your gear, you go out and you respond to that. And it was a suspicious package that they had isolated, and the package was actually vibrating, and that's what deemed it suspicious to the postal employees. They didn't know what was in there. So sure enough, we had to call in the bomb squad, and they isolated it, and they blew it with the water cannon. And when they opened it up, what it was one of those Tigger bouncing toys for Christmas. It was a Christmas package. Okay, so they deemed it suspicious. But I'm going to give you a tip. If you get nothing else from this presentation today, when you mail something, take the batteries out. Because Postal inspectors will respond, and the local PD will come and they'll isolate the area. But also what they do is they evacuate the postal services. They evacuate the facilities. A lot of downtime for the postal service on that. And again, people get uptight. They get nervous. I have come across electric toothbrushes. That's been one. And 2 years ago, we had one that was a nose hair clipper. And that was big. That was, I think, in Alston, and they evacuated, and local police came down, and the local media came down, and that's all it was. So that's the tip of the day. Remove the batteries when you mail stuff, okay? Good. All right, so what else we work? We work mail theft. And fortunately, the Postal Service handles billions of pieces of mail. And fortunately, very, very few pieces get into the hands of the bad guys, get into the hands of the thieves. But every piece of mail that is sent is important to us, whether it's a letter from one of you to a grandchild with $10 in it, or a tax return check, anything like that. We take every piece seriously and we investigate it, report it. You have a crime, you go down to the local post office. If you're missing a piece, report it. Postal inspectors will respond. But again, we don't have a lot of that. This time of year, you might hear about it because there's a lot of packages that are shipped, and we do have some bad guys who are out there, and they're looking on the porches, and they're taking pieces. So we take it very seriously, and we do investigate that. Has anybody had any situations like that here with the packages? We're hearing a little bit about it at Christmas time, but again, not too much. A lot of times we see more of it with FedEx and UPS, because with the U.S. mail, the individuals will be prosecuted federally, and the fines are more severe, and the penalties overall are more severe. So a lot of times those packages are, the FedEx, not necessarily the Postal Service pieces. And let me see, fraud. We work two types of fraud. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that the Postal Service is suffering a little bit financially now. So we have a whole team of inspectors who work revenue fraud. That's fraud against the Postal Service. So that includes anything from big mailers who are, cheating the system, and also mail equipment. Up in Elmira, New York recently, we came across a warehouse that had closed down years ago, but we found something like $240,000 worth of old equipment that was in there. That's big money in one facility in New York. You look around the country if you find equipment like this. If you have any tips like that, if you see, postal, even the tubs that are stacked up someplace, it's our equipment, and we want to get it back. And postal inspectors do that. I mean, we're out there to help the Postal Service, so we have a whole team of inspectors who work revenue fraud. And then the other type of fraud we work is mail fraud. Everyone know what mail fraud is? What fraud is? Fraud, I'm sure you've heard a lot of it. We have a lot of different agencies going out there speaking to seniors about fraud. But it's really any scheme or scam to get your money or something of value for something like investment opportunity, goods or services that really don't meet up to their claims, right? That's fraud. The reason postal inspectors get involved is because mail fraud. A lot of the scams that we see, they start out over the phone, but eventually something will be mailed, and that's when we get involved. And that's how the individuals get prosecuted on a federal level. And again, the penalties are much more severe on that. So what I'd like to do today is initially, I'm going to show you a brief video on one of the type of scams that we're seeing now. A lot of different types of fraud out there. There is, we have mortgage fraud, we have, a whole litany of them. But this particular one is a foreign lottery scam. And that's one of the scams right now that is one of the most popular. It's just unbelievable to me. I put an ad. We have a little place up in New Hampshire, and I put my ad on Craigslist. Have any of you ever dealt with Craigslist? Well, I can't tell you how many fraudulent emails and how many requests I'm getting for different scams. And I know them because I'm familiar with them, but the average person doesn't see that. I have some. I actually printed some off from my home computer that I get about all these scams, and I'll read some of them to you later. But this particular one is a foreign lottery scam, and I'm going to show you the video, pass out a few handouts, and then we can talk specifically about that scam.
Daughter's got her hands full raising 2 kids of her own, trying to take care of her mom, too. She called us after visiting her mom one afternoon. She found a lot of mail from the Spanish sweepstakes, the London Lotto, and the Australian lottery. Her mom's checkbook had a lot of entries for tickets. No deposit to the winnings, though. Names are different, but I've heard the story before. The scam is simple. Crooks tell people they can make money playing the lottery in foreign countries. They promise better odds, tax-free winnings, make it easy to play. Hey, you can call their toll-free number, send them a check, or use your credit card. Some of them even set up websites. They promise to hold the tickets and send your winnings overnight. Yeah, they promise a lot of things, but deliver nothing. Their slick ads don't mention that it's illegal to play a foreign lottery in the United States. That if you play even once, your name will go on a suckers list, and you'll get a mailbox full of scam offers. Yeah, they also forget to mention that instead of winning, some people lose everything. It's the worst part of the job. The best part is putting away the people who do this. I didn't know who had taken Mrs. Bergman's savings yet, but I knew his luck was about to change.
This is an outrage. I'm sorry here. If you come to my office tomorrow, we can discuss this.
Bruno, let's not make this difficult.
Jim, you want me to call my lawyers? You know, this sort of thing.
Oh, just make sure Tori's your head on the day. I'll call you later.
This is ridiculous. What the bird is nothing. What you mean? You're not set to go? I asked him. My lawyer will have your back. How about getting weapons on you?
Mr. Boone, I might be willing to discuss the plea, but of course that would depend on the information that you have for all of us. So I would suggest that you just answer the inspector's questions and then we can talk about your situation later. I might be willing to drop the RICO count.
Why don't you give us the rundown on this Australian lottery? How does this work?
Well, that's really quite simple. We print up this flashy brochure and then we send it out to our list.
What list?
Well, you know, our mailing list. Older people, usually retirees, snowbirds vacationing in Florida, that sort of thing. Anyway, we tell them that they can play the lottery in Spain or Canada, Australia. We tell them that the odds are better playing the lottery overseas than if they played the Powerball here in the United States. So people will buy 10, 20 tickets. Then once they buy on that one, we'll put them on another list, a new one for suckers. And we'll send them another half dozen mailings usually, telling them about the Irish sweepstakes or the English lotto. Usually they'll bite on that one too.
So you're strictly small time, just a few bucks here and there.
Hardly. See, once we really get them to bite, then we call them and tell them they've actually won. Only we need a couple of $1,000s to pay off the taxes on their winnings before we can send them a check. You'd be surprised at how easy it is.
So what's your role in all this, Mr. Bruno? We know the checks don't come to you. Not directly, anyway.
Well, usually set up a small shop somewhere, give it a fancy name like International Exports Incorporated, and hire a couple of guys to pick up the mail, cash the checks. Maybe somebody else to work the phones.
No.
We'll add their name to the suckers list and then sell it for big bucks to another operation.
You realize you're talking about organized crime, don't you, Mr. Brennan?
Okay, this isn't the Sopranos. All right, these are just a couple of people exchanging legitimate mailing lists, which is not against the law last time I checked.
It doesn't bother you taking money from these people?
Why should it? These people are greedy themselves. They've got piles of money lying around and they want to get rich quick. It's my duty to take this money from them. Besides, if I didn't do it, some other guy would. So if you're through sitting in judgment, let's get to the chase. Do we have a deal or what?
Mr. Brennan, you haven't told us anything that we don't already know yet. I'm going to need a list of all your associates, including the names of the folks that gave you this mailing list and those that you sell it to. We'll see what you have to trade, and then we'll discuss a plea.
Write it up. Check back in a few minutes.
Currently, Brunen's serving 5 years in a federal prison as part of his plea agreement. Unfortunately, postal inspectors intercept millions of pieces of mail every year promoting foreign lotteries, but many more make it through to consumers and trick people into the scam. There are some simple steps you can take to avoid becoming a victim. 1. Remember, it's illegal to play a foreign lottery in the U.S. If you do, you're breaking the law. 2. There are no secrets to winning a foreign lottery. In fact, the lotteries themselves usually don't even exist. 3. If you purchase even one ticket, your name will be added to a suckers list, and you'll start receiving lots of offers from bogus lotteries or investment opportunities. These crooks actually buy and sell these mailing lists to aid their scams. 4. Keep your credit card numbers, bank accounts, and other personal information to yourself. Scam artists often ask for these on the phone. Lastly, if you think you've been the victim of one of these scams, you need to report it. Contact your local United States Postal Inspector. You can find us in the phone book or on our website at usps.com/postal inspectors. Remember, if you're tempted to play a foreign lottery, you won't win anything, but you may lose it all.
There we go. What did you think? You're probably laughing. A lot of people laugh and say, how could anyone ever fall for a scam like that, right? So basically, let me tell you how it works. You're at home and you get a phone call from somebody, and they say, oh, you've won the Jamaican lottery, you've won the Australian lottery. Good girl. There you go. That's what you're supposed to do. Because you know what generally happens? People don't hang up. And people talk to these individuals, and then you know, these people who are doing it, they're first of all, let me explain how it technically works. What happens is when you're getting that phone call, you can look down at the caller ID, and you see a 508 area code, so you think it's a local call. But what these bad guys can do is they have something called a voice over internet protocol. They can be, you know, all at the internet, this is all high tech, so they can be overseas. They can be in Jamaica. They can be in Costa Rica. And what they can do through the computer is make it look like they're calling from a local area. So they also use Google Earth, which they can zero right in on Medfield and find the name of an office building. And when they call and you see the 508 area code, they can say, oh, I'm calling from West Street, right? You know, and you say, oh, okay, it's local. So that gives you a little bit more buy-in to their scam. And then what happens is, you know, they build a rapport with you. They'll call a little bit here and there. But with the foreign lotteries, what they generally do is they ask you to mail them money in order to release the funds. Initially, they'll say you need to pay $2,000 in taxes. And then you need to pay $3,000 in legal fees. And then you have to do this and have to do that. And eventually, you've got nothing. And again, people say, my dad says, well, why would anyone fall for that? People do. I'm going to tell you a true story. A case that we had up in Maine. A medical doctor. Now, you know, a medical doctor is a smart cookie, correct? And he fell for a scam. His wife, they lived in Maine. He's married to a nurse. Her parents lived a little bit further up in Maine, and she used to travel up there on weekends because her parents were both ill. And while she was gone, he didn't really know too much about the computer. I think he's 75 years old. Didn't really work on the computer much, but with the wife gone, he was, you know, kind of on there, you know, killing some time. And sure enough, one of these solicitations came in through the internet indicating that he won some money. He was from Scotland, that he was the sole heir of millions of dollars. I think it was $8 million. It was crazy. And he believed it. And he had to release money in order to, first of all, pay the attorney's fees, right? And all the taxes. Do you know how much money he lost? Everything. $500,000 is what he lost. And the wife, the way she found out about it, she was up in Maine, and she went to the ATM machine, and there was no money in there. And she called her husband and said, "What's going on?" "Oh, no," he was afraid to kind of admit it at that point. And finally, one of her parents did pass away while she was up in Maine. She was younger than him. She's in her 50s. And the husband went up there, and they went to the funeral, and driving home, he explained what happened, that he had lost his money. Now, you might even see her. She did an ad campaign with us just very recently. We went up there and taped it because she wants to get the word out. Because she said, "My husband is a smart guy." She said it broke his spirit. He currently is just in the house in a bathrobe because he's embarrassed. He's mortified. And she was a nurse, but she was retired, and now she's cleaning hotels. She works at a Motel 6 up in Maine right now. They had everything. They were on top of the world. Now they've got nothing. She said the worst part for her was that when she was cleaning out the drawer, at the desk at the computer that he worked, she opened up one of the drawers and she found a legal yellow pad of paper, and he had a list on that of every family member and how he was going to take care of them with that $8 million. Isn't that terrible? I mean, he really thought, and this is what happens. A lot of people, when they're solicited, they say, "Well, this can help out my family. This will help me gain status with the family if I have this money. I can leave my kids X, Y, Z." So we had all the family members listed, and it's a really, really tough thing. So people do fall for it. A lot of times people say, "Well, I'm not that dumb. What kind of person would fall for it?" A medical doctor. Last week I was down in Rhode Island with a woman who received a Publishers Clearinghouse letter. And she has lost a boatload of money because it was a fraudulent one. She thought she won. So when you get things, they always say if it sounds too good to be true, but Publishers Clearinghouse is legit. But this was a false. She received a check in the mail from Publishers Clearinghouse. She went to the bank. She deposited the check. The bank didn't look at it to see if it was a fraudulent check, because she went to the drive-up teller I'll bring that up later. But anyway, so what she did was the check was I think it was for $20,000. She deposited it, and they told her to send back $3,000 for taxes. And by the time she did that, they found out the check was bogus, and she lost her money. So just be really careful. Be really, cognizant of all of these different types of things that are going on out there. And this particular scam, like I said, initially they call, they ask you to send money, and then you'll get nothing in return. Now what I've done is I've had Joe pass out a scratch ticket. See, everyone likes scratch tickets. Everybody have a scratch ticket? Yes. Can someone scratch it and tell me what's up? What did you win? Give it a scratch. Do you have a coin? The scratch tickets. Anyone have a scratch ticket? Oh, no? Anyone have a coin? But let me tell you, you could use your fingernail. Here, want me to scratch one for you? This is just an example. This is something that we send out. Somebody read it when they scratch it. Tell me what it says. You don't have your glasses. Anyone get the scratch? You can just read one. Tell me what it says. Right. But now you see, look at the top of the scratch ticket. What does it say? Imagine what you could lose. See? And now everyone gets, and that's an example. Everyone gets excited. They get a scratch ticket. It's just like jumping into something quickly. But if you look at these things, this is one of them says your finances, your house, your car, because this is what you can lose in a lot of these scams. And I'll tell you, these scam artists are really good at what they do. Really good at what they do. With the foreign lottery scams, I think we've estimated, $42 million that people have lost. And that $42 million, it's a lot, but people say, well, is it really that much? But you know what? It's underreported because people are embarrassed. When they get scammed, they're embarrassed to come forward. And a lot of times what we find is that their children are the ones who find out that mom or dad had written a big check several times to some, wacky company they've never heard of. So it's just an example. Do you see what I'm saying, how it works like that? Another thing I want to offer up, maybe Joey will pass these out too. Thanks.
Okay, what are these?
These are just this is just some brochures on, this is just some literature on it. So does anyone have any questions on the scam? The scam on how it works and how people are roped in? We recently grabbed a package. What postal inspectors do now for this, like I said, we conduct investigations. If we get a tip that there's some type of scam, of course we get out there and we conduct the investigations. We also do interdictions. We're out there and we got a tip a few months back. No more scratch tickets, sorry. The fun is over. Now we have to put our thinking caps back on. No. But we had a woman, we do interdictions, so we get packages. We grabbed a package with $5,000 cash in Connecticut several weeks ago. A woman in Minnesota went to visit her mom. She saw in her mom's checkbook that she had a large withdrawal, $5,000, and said, "Mom, what's this? What are you doing?" "Oh, I won this lottery. I'm just paying off something." This woman said, "Mom, something's wrong." And then the woman said, "This is the second time I've done it." And she never got her money the first time, but she still fell for it. So Postal, this woman, the daughter, went to the local post office, told the postmaster. He called the postal inspectors. They were from Minnesota. The package was going to Connecticut. Called the postal inspectors in Connecticut. It was a Saturday. Postal inspectors went down and grabbed the package. There was $5,000 cash in there. We were able to get it back to the woman. That's one of the good stories. Once that money leaves the country, it's gonzo. We have a tough time, getting that. We do work with individuals overseas. We work with, the police in Canada and in England, Costa Rica, even in Jamaica. But still, it's very tough to track that money once it leaves the country, okay? And the third thing that we do is outreach initiatives like this. So we do the investigations, we do interdictions, and we do outreach to educate people. We have a couple of programs that are going to be put on the local news. It's like a consumer alert network because a lot of people don't know about these scams. So we're trying to educate people on it. So now I want to give you another little example so you all have a good sense of what I'm all about, right? Do I sound like a trustworthy person? No? Why? I think that hat did something to him.
I know it has.
It has? Okay, so you think I'm a trustworthy person, except for one. Okay, so I have a deal for you. I've got $100 grand I'm going to give somebody. If somebody's willing to give me $1, I'm going to give them $100 grand. Who's got a buck they want to cough up? If it's nice, trustworthy, right? Come on, someone has $1. Go ahead, come on up. Come on up. See, she's taking a chance, right? She's taking a chance. She is taking a chance. Thank you. So I promised her $100 grand, right? Here's $1, and here is her $100 grand. You see? Bum, 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 bum. You can keep that. Candy. So that's what it's all about. They kind of rope you in, you smile, they're nice, they're this, they're that, and the bottom line is you don't always get what you expect, right? It wasn't $100 grand. So that's it. So I have really nothing else. I don't think. Have any questions? Different scams, different schemes, who postal inspectors are, what we do. This brochure that was handed out by Joe. Do you have any more back there, Joe? The purple, yeah. I don't think we got any up here. They don't trust you. Oh, no. No. So the reason I'm handing this out is because this is some information about the scam and also the contact information. If you have a problem, if you think you've been defrauded, or you know somebody, we'll come out. We'll go out. We have people who go out to residences to try to convince people you're being scammed. And we'll do that. So basically, on the last page, this is a nice little brochure. It talks about the foreign lotteries. But on the last page is our contact information. Postal inspectors, that's the website, and that's the telephone number for our call center, and they can put you to somebody in the local area. And that's it. Any other? I want to see if I have any specific tips. I do, which I'd like to actually read to you verbatim so I don't miss them. Is that okay? Do we have a couple more minutes? Yes. Oh, you have a question? Yes.
Never click a link inside an email, type the address into your browser instead. Why?
That's huge, because what happens is that will allow, have you heard of phishing? Phishing on a computer, PH, yeah. That's when you click on that, that opens up your computer to all kinds of things, and individuals can gain access to it. So really, you should just highlight it and put it up on your browser, because otherwise it gives people access to a lot of things that might be saved, identifying information in your computer. That's in the tips that I'm going to read to you, okay? And that's very big, and that reminds me that I do have some of those emails I want to read to you that I've received, and I get so aggravated. But again, I'm going to read these verbatim, okay? So of course, first of all, remember the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, what? It probably is, right? Just like that candy bar. She thought she was leaving here with 100,000, 100 grand, right? And it was just a candy bar. So there you go. Shredders, cross cutters, shred your documents. Do they ever have a shred event here at this facility?
We haven't, but it's sort of in the works.
Yeah, we might be able to work with you on that.
Oh, you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to navigate because there's a company called Shred It. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but because we're a municipality, you have to go to a whole other department, and it's just a
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we have something called National Consumer Protection Week in March where we go out there and we do stuff like this, and a lot of times we can help facilitate get a shred truck. But one of the things on that is it's really important to do it, because a lot of the old documents, bank statements and things like that you have, really look at your documents and say, do I need this? Even the old medical records, they all have socials on them, the old stuff. They do, and if you're saving them just because you think you might need it, you're most likely not going to need it. The doctors keep a pretty, good database, so get rid of it. And they even say now with the shredding to do the cross shredders where it gets it from all angles. One of the inspectors who I work with, who goes out and does a lot of these presentations, I went out with him one day, and he told an interesting story. He went to bed one night, normal time, and it was the night before trash day. So he put his trash out, he put his recyclables out on the stoop. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, he woke up, he heard something, and he looked out the window, and he saw somebody going through his trash at 3 a.m. He does have a shredder, but he said, if I didn't have a shredder, God only knows what they would have got, been able to obtain. And the moral of that is, normal people, a lot of us, we work regular hours, but these bad guys, they don't care. They're out there doing what they have to do, and they're darn good at what they do. So, you really should shred your documents. And again, if they have a shred event here, or you might have a shredder at your home, but they'll take as little as a tub. A lot of these companies will even come out and get it. I don't think they charge too much, but if you can get it here for free, wouldn't that be good? All right, anyway, let's see, moving on. The shred events. Beware when you recycle. Like I said, make sure that everything in there is destroyed. The records, I mentioned that. Beware of your surroundings with Social Security numbers. I think at this point everyone's pretty good with that. Do any of you actually carry your Social Security cards with you? No? I bet you do. You've got the hat, you've got your social. No. Good man. There you go. Good, good. Nobody does. Do you carry it?
No, I was going to say, the problem is on your Medicare card,
Yeah.
which sometimes you have to carry because you go to the doctor or something. Your number's on there, and it's in your wallet. Your wallet gets taken.
Yeah, that came up before too, and I think on that it's a matter of just trying to advocate for that, on a local level. I don't know why they do that, because that opens up an area for a lot of problems.
It used to be your driver's license. It used to be Social Security.
I know, and now you get the S number there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something. I don't know. Does anyone have anything on that? No, you've never had any issues with that, Joe? Have you ever had any dealings with that on the Medicaid card? They have the social on them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. You do? Yeah. No, that's what we said, not carry it. But she was just mentioning that she has to carry the medical card, which has it on there, the social. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's something that I'm surprised AARP hasn't taken up an issue with. But, you know, I can try to look into that. Yeah.
He ties everything to my other doctors.
Right.
So that's in the works too, so they're all in the same network.
Oh, they are, yeah, with the computer database. Right, exactly. Yeah.
You won't have to get into giving them all the data.
Every time you go.
Places with the, general practitioner.
Right.
That's how it's
Has access to it, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's something that I really don't have an answer for, I'm sorry, but I'm going to look into it and see if I can come up with something on that. And then, let's see, even when you make purchases, a lot of times they'll say they need, you know, like Radio Shack or some place like that I went to, and they said, oh, what's your social? What are you talking about? Or even your telephone number. You don't have to give out any of that information, you know. Give them a bunch of, we need it for the purchase. Even for your telephone number, say it's unlisted, or give them all ones. You know, for a social, they need something for a purchase. You know, just give them 111111111. That's it. And the other thing is your credit card on the back. You know what? On the back you should write, ask for ID. Instead of signing it, ask for ID. And if you go to a vendor, a merchant, and they take the credit card, and you have ask for ID. Do you know what I'm talking about in the namespace? I had that on all of mine, ask for ID, and they don't. Push back. Why didn't you ask for an ID? You know, you've got to be your own advocate. And I think a lot of times that's why the elderly are targeted on a lot of schemes, because, you know, they're more trusting, and they don't want to be rude. My father's just like that. He actually had some issues with a financial advisor where he was scammed. We were able to save it, but, I mean, he's a with it guy. He's, you know, there's nothing wrong up here with him. And he's afraid to say no to the guy. The guy still calls him. And he says, well, I told him I'm going to Florida to call after. I said, Dad, just hang up on him. He's like, well, I don't want to be mean. Be mean. You've got to be your own advocate and protect yourself, right? Another big tip, no one ever needs help transferring or wiring money out of the country. Has anyone here ever been, have a phone call whereby a grandchild or something, an alleged grandchild has called and said, don't tell Mom, but I need money. Can you send me $1,000? Don't tell. That's happened. The last group I spoke with, remember, Joe, we had a woman who had that exact same call. And, you know, people are trying to get you wire money. Don't do it. Be really, you know, on your guard at all times on stuff like that. And I think that is it. Credit reports, you can order those a couple of times a year for free. The do not call register. Everybody know what that's all about? I can give you the number for that. You can get, pardon? They still call. Yeah, I know, they do. My mother would answer and say, don't you know who I am? I'm on the do not call list. Slam. But anyway, so that's about it. Those are the tips I want to give you. And then you have our website, you have our telephone number. Anything comes up where you think you might be a victim, or you think something's, you know, strange going on with yourself, with a loved one, with a family member, feel free to give us a call. Any questions, issues? That's the national number, yeah. And then you can tell them, you know, if you want somebody in Boston. I might have cards. If anybody wants a card, I can hand out a card from a local number in Boston. So there you go. So that's the scam.
When you're supposed to shred things, how
Yeah.
long do you have to keep certain things?
What the IRS, what is it? Is it 7 years? I think you have to keep some of those documents.
Yeah.
You do.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
You hang on to them.
Right. Well, you know, lock them up. You could always, even on some records that you think you have to keep for medical purposes, whatever, redact your social. Just black it out, you know. But when you're throwing it away, just don't throw it in a brown paper, you know, Stop and Shop bag and throw it out there in the recyclable bin. That's the point where you should shred it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And then the issue that you brought up about the computer, that's a really good point. Yeah, and I don't know how much time we have left. Are we out? We good? Pardon me?
Go ahead, it's interesting.
Oh, okay, good. I want to read you one of the emails that I got that is really, oh boy, this is small print. I should have brought a bigger font. All right, the email I received was from a woman named, oh, this isn't the one, is it? Oh, yeah, this is the one. This is even better. Ready? From the Great Matron Hospital, and it was addressed directly to me. Dear beloved one in Christ. There you go, that's a sign. I know that this letter may be a very big surprise to you. I came across your email contact from my personal search, and I instructed the doctor here in this hospital to help me email you, and I believe that you will be honest to fulfill my final wish before I die. So right there, even you start to notice even the grammar, they just don't put the words in the right place. But still, if you were home alone feeling bad, I am Mrs. Hannah Brown from Spain. I am 68 years old. I am deaf and suffering from a long-time cancer of the breast. From all indication, my condition is really deteriorating, and my doctors have courageously advised me that I may not live beyond the next 2 months. This is because the cancer stage has reached a critical stage. I was brought up in a motherless baby's home and was married to my late husband for 20 years without a child. My husband and I are 2 Christians. We lived all day in the Ivory Coast since he was working here as a contractor, but quite unfortunately, he died in a fatal motor accident. Since his death, I have decided not to remarry, and because of my bad state of health, I sold all my inheritance belonging and deposited all the sum of $12.78 million with a bank in the United States, New York. Presently, this money is still in the bank, and the management just wrote me as the legitimate beneficiary to come forward to receive the money. After keeping it for so long, or rather issue a letter of authorization to somebody to receive it on my behalf, since I cannot come over as a result of my illness, or they get it confiscated. See, the words are getting a little weird here. Presently, I'm using my doctor's hospital computer where I have been undergoing treatment to write you this email. I have since lost my ability to talk, and my doctors have told me that I only have a few months to live. It is my last wish to see that this money is invested in any organization of your choice and distributed each year among the charity organizations, the poor and the motherless babies' home where I came from. I want your good humanitarian to also use this money to fund churches, hurricane victims, orphanages, and widows around. I must let you know this has been a very hard decision, but I had to take a bold step towards this issue because I have no further option. I hope you will help see my last wishes come true. As soon as I receive your reply, here we go, I shall begin you the contact email of my attorney. I will also issue a letter of authorization to the bank which will prove that you are the new beneficiary of my funds. Please assure me that you will act accordingly as I stated herein. Hope to hear from you soonest. Here is my email address, Hannah Brown something something. Oh, let me get into that. Hannah Brown at tormail.org. I wait your reply on this, my beloved. Yours in Christ, Mrs. Hannah Brown. So, you can see what she's doing, right? She's saying that she's got $12.8 million and she wants it invested in all of these, motherless shelters in the church, and she's talking about being sick, and she's trying to tug on your heartstrings, but you don't know at what point. They probably send out millions of these, right, on a weekly basis to people, and eventually somebody might bite, and that's what they're hoping for. So that's the type of email. That's real. That's what I got. And I get tons of these things, and I'm not looking for them, believe you me. I don't know how they get my email address. So that's it. So you get something like that, what do? Delete. See you later. End of story. You could. They'll find you. You're going to keep getting them. And that's the story. That's the whole thing. Any questions? Everyone okay with that? Good. All right. Well, listen, have a great day and a happy holiday. Merry Christmas to everybody. All right? Take care. Yep.
This program was made possible through the generous support of your Medfield friends and neighbors, folks just like you. And thanks for watching.